May, a Northwest Iowa college student started working on an undergraduate research project to raise awareness of a genetic mutation. A year and a half later, she's helping educate people of Dutch descent who are impacted by this genetic mutation. KTIV's Taylor Deckard has more in tonight's Healthbeat 4.
Senior Dordt University student Lucy Brokowski works for the PLN Heart Foundation in the Netherlands, bringing awareness of this unique mutation.
The only way you know if you have PLN is if you receive a genetic test, which will test for different cardiomyopathies and gene mutations.
The PLN mutation is a hereditary disease which affects the heart and dominates in the Dutch culture. In the north of the Netherlands, it's estimated that 1 in every 1,500 people carry this mutation. Brokowski helped discover a small population in northwest Iowa with the mutation as well.
The most rewarding and surprising part, I would just say, was just being able to meet with people face to face and talk about it. People always have questions, and I'm always eager to talk to them, build a relationship with them, and just help them through this process because it is scary.
Back in May last year, there were only 15 known carriers of the mutation in North America. Now there are over 50, 15 just from northwest Iowa. There's no cure at the moment, but research is being done to help save more lives.
I made some of these different handouts that kind of talk about what PLN is and how to trace it in your family history, and there's like different steps you can go through. The first step would be analyzing your family history. If there's cardiac conditions that commonly arise in people, to just go out and receive genetic testing and kind of trace back where you think that started in your family.
But there have also been heartaches along the journey.
I've met with some ladies a lady that had the PLN genetic mutation and passed away because of it in her 60s this past spring. So there's the joys of it, of having people find they have PLN and helping them treat their symptoms. And then there's also the downside of people, they're living with it, trying to mitigate the symptoms, but it is real.
Symptoms can include chest pain, shortness of breath, severe fatigue, and in the worst case scenario, sudden cardiac death. It all starts with a genetic test and talking with your doctor about symptoms. Reporting for Healthbeat 4, Taylor Deckard, KTIV News 4.
Brokowski will work on setting up PLN patient support days via Zoom. She's created a Facebook page to help provide even more education. It's called PLN Genetic Mutation Awareness. You can find a link inside the story right now at ktiv.com.